Everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the iPhone 16 Pro and compare it against the iPhone XR and see which particular phone is a better one for you. Now, number one, in almost every single way you can imagine, the iPhone 16 Pro is a way better phone than the iPhone XR. But it's still interesting to see how a 6-year-old phone, like a mid-tier phone from 2018, how it holds up against the iPhone 16 Pro. But if you want to pick up either one of these phones in the used market or a brand new market for the cheapest prices I find, links will be down in the description. You can get them from there, and you can help support the channel at the exact same time. Now, starting off with the outside, the iPhone XR on the front side of this particular phone is giving you a 6.1-inch Retina IPS panel on it. And I genuinely do think in a lot of ways, it was an interesting panel when it first came out. It definitely wasn't that great, had lots of glitches and issues, not glitches and issues, it just was like a low resolution panel. And it has a thick amount of bezels on it. It's 60 Hz, it's an IPS panel. Definitely does not look like the best panel anymore, but it really wasn't the best panel back then either. And this was kind of the biggest downside of this device at that moment. You do have a pretty big notch on this phone too, and pretty thick bezels, but it's not a terrible looking phone, but it definitely hasn't aged that well versus something like the iPhone 16 Pro. This is a bigger sized 6.3-inch Super Retina XDR OLED display. Now, significantly less bezel on this phone, and even though it has a bigger display, it doesn't even feel like it's bigger because it has so much less bezel on it. You're getting the dynamic island at the very top, and this bezel compared to this one is like so much smaller. It's an OLED display, it's a brighter display, and it has a higher, brightness resolution, higher, ProMotion, like 120 Hz. It's just everything is better on this phone, and I love looking at my iPhone 16 Pro because it's significantly just better. Now, it's interesting the rest of the body feels very similar. The iPhone 16 Pro and the iPhone XR feel very similar on the sides. The XR has this curved side to it, so keep that in mind. You're getting the action button and the camera button on the iPhone 16 Pro, which is really cool to have. Nothing at the very top. At the very bottom, you're getting this lightning port at the bottom of the iPhone XR, which is really cool. The iPhone 16 Pro is giving you this USB Type-C port, which I also think is really, really nice to have. But definitely Lightning is okay, but USB Type-C is so much better. On the other side, you're getting this camera button on the iPhone 16 Pro, which is a really nice thing to have there too. Having a dedicated camera button is amazing. I haven't really been using it that much, to be honest. I'm kind of overhyping it, but still a nice thing to have. The 16 Pro also is like a thicker phone as far as I'm seeing, which is not a problem. On the back side, you're getting a triple camera setup on the iPhone 16 Pro, a single camera setup on the iPhone XR. You can see that we're getting glass backs on both, but you're getting a frosted glass back on the back of the iPhone 16 Pro, and it's also giving you MagSafe capability here, wireless charging, all that stuff. The XR is just giving you wireless charging. So, when you're looking at both these phones, I would probably say in a lot of different ways, a phone like the iPhone 16 Pro, it's a very, very good device, right? I like that phone a lot, and it's way better than the iPhone XR. The XR still feels like a pretty good phone for the most part, but it is a cheaper, more, it's an older phone, so it's not going to feel as good as something like the iPhone 16 Pro. So just kind of keep that in mind at the end of the day. Now, when it comes down to software longevity, this is a pretty big disadvantage for the iPhone XR. This phone is starting to kind of come to its end of life, and I would probably say it has like another year of software support. Maybe it's going to get another year of software updates, and I do think that's kind of what's going to end up happening here. I wish this phone could last forever, but that's not really what's going on. So if you're going to want the phone that's going to be the longer lasting device here, it really is going to be something like the iPhone 16 Pro, right? The 16 Pro is going to be a longer lasting phone than the iPhone XR. So kind of keep that in mind at the end of the day as well. Now let's go and do a speed comparison between both these phones. The iPhone 16 Pro is giving you that Apple A18 Pro chip inside of it with 8 GB of RAM, where the iPhone XR is giving you that Apple A12 Bionic chipset inside of it with 3 GB of RAM. So let's go and see which one's a faster phone between both. Okay, there we go. All the apps are cleared out in the background. So let's get into it. Phone calls 3, 2, 1. Okay. Music 3, 2, 1. Okay, what's going on here? App Store 3, 2, 1. I don't really have that much commentary yet. Okay, the 16 Pro, definitely faster than the XR right there. That's kind of how I think this whole entire comparison is going to go. Lots of glitches on the XR as well as you're kind of scrolling through. Not the biggest deal in the world, but just something minor. Mail 3, 2, 1. 16 Pro again is a faster one. Notes 3, 2, 1. And just think about it like this, right? All those little tiny instances where the iPhone 16 Pro is faster than the iPhone XR, this is going to add up over time. right? When you're going to go through and use either one of these phones, that's when you're going to notice these massive differences. It's not necessarily like when you're loading up a big application, that's when you're going to notice it. It's just the little times here and there, like the in and outs. That's when you're going to notice it. Like this one just being a little bit faster here and there. It's going to add up over time. Even apps like the settings application, a very basic app, was significantly faster on the iPhone 16 Pro. Now, if we load up some of these other applications, some stock ones, you can see this one. Also, it feels so much smoother on something like the iPhone, 16 Pro as well. I think that's another big advantage. Watch 3, 2, 1. I mean, it's just so much faster on the iPhone 16 Pro. But I will say the iPhone XR is still holding in there, right? It's still giving us like a pretty good experience here too. I think that's another nice thing going on with that type of phone. But it really comes down to that promotion display. This promotion display on the iPhone 16 Pro does feel so much smoother and faster than the iPhone XR's display, right? The XR was an older, lower resolution panel. Also, it was a 60 hertz panel. So when you're comparing these types of situations and these types of displays, you are overall going to be getting a way better display on the 16 Pro with better performance. So I think that in of itself is a very, very cool thing going on for that type of device. Even hopping out of here, I don't know why that thing popped up. Let's go hop out of here. Let's go do something else. Let's say Subway Surfers 3, 2, 1. So, I mean, to kind of sum this whole entire thing up from the performance side, in almost every single way you can imagine, you're getting a faster performing device in every single way you can kind of think about it on the iPhone 16 Pro than the iPhone XR. And, that's just, and I hope we're getting a faster phone on the 16 Pro as well because we're spending way more money on it. Look at all these glitches on here. So, from that side, I think that kind of covers it up there for the most part. Now, in terms of the cameras on the back side, you can see that we're both getting, a significant camera upgrade. Single wide-angle camera on the iPhone XR, wide ultrawide telephoto lens on the iPhone 16 Pro, 4K at 60 on the back of both of them, and 1080p at 60 on the front of the iPhone XR. But the iPhone 16 Pro has 4K at 120 frames per second on the back and 4K at 60 on the front. Way better camera on the iPhone 16 Pro as well. Now with the iPhone XR, I think this camera was okay, but in this day and age, I do think it's not a really a good camera. It's a single lens, which is not that great. It doesn't even tell you how much you can zoom in. Video mode, slow mode, time lapse, like you do have like some good modes here, but you're not really getting any cool features on this type of camera anymore. It's a significantly older type of lens, and I think even when it first came out, it really wasn't that great. It was a big novelty or a big feature because it had portrait mode. Beyond that, this is a fairly outdated type of lens and a fairly outdated type of camera when it kind of comes down to it. I think I look at something like the iPhone 16 Pro, and this is basically in almost every single way the better type of camera here. This one, for one, is giving you that camera button, which I think is really nice to have. Having that dedicated type of camera button I think is really cool. So that in and of itself is really awesome. On top of that, you're getting things like video mode, cinematic mode, slow mode, time lapse. You're getting this photo mode, portrait mode, spatial mode, panorama mode. So this type of camera, I would say, is very, very good for the most part. It's definitely not, the best camera of all time right now, but it's the best camera you can get on an iPhone. And I do think this is a very solid option for the everyday average person. So to kind of sum up this whole entire video, what I'll definitely tell you is that if you're looking at both these types of devices, almost in every single way I can imagine, a phone like the iPhone 16 Pro is basically going to be the overall better device here. Better cameras, better performance, better lasting phone, better display, better everything you can imagine is going to be better on this phone. The XR, I think wouldn't recommend anyone buying this phone anymore, to be honest. However, there's a lot of phones in between here that you can also buy that will make a lot of sense to buy. Phones like the iPhone 13 Pro and iPhone 14 Pro, I think are very good phones that sit in between here price tag wise, or even an iPhone 13 or 14. Those are very good in-between phones I'd recommend every single person to buy. You don't have to buy this $1,000 phone. You can buy a $400, $450 iPhone 13 or $500 iPhone 13 Pro and get a very good device from those. So in terms of that kind of covers it up there too. If you have any other thoughts or questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.